Chanuka, the festival of lights. Remember the story? A long time ago, Greeks showed up to Israel, took over the temple, ruined the place. Jews got upset. Maccabees stepped up, knocked out the Greeks, came to the temple, couldn't find oil, found one more jug, lit the candles, and they lasted for 8 nights. Remember? The modern day equivalent would be you leave your house. You thought you charged your phone last night, but you didn't plug it all the way into the wall. And as you leave, bing, you're on low battery, and now your little battery icon is yellow. You forgot your charger. And you don't charge it, and it lasts not just for that day, but for 8 straight days. Miracle, right? That's what it was like back then, just with oil. Miracle. And so we light candles every night to remember the miracle of Hanukkah. Well, here's the problem. There was a bigger miracle that happened beforehand, like much bigger. The Greeks, led by a king named Antiochus, the Syrian Greeks, were the strongest army at the time. Elephants, thousands of soldiers, formations, spears, the whole deal. Everyone in Israel at that point was either on the Greek side, believe it or not, or like too scared. The only people left that were like holding the Jewish flag were priests, basically rabbis, in caves, malnourished, no military training. And they just stood up one morning and said, "We're not taking this anymore." And they waged a military campaign. That is the equivalent of a few rabbis going up against the entire United States military for 3 years and winning. Like, just understand that. Priests in caves, not thousands, dozens, hundreds maybe, against the strongest army for 3 years and winning. That's a miracle. And if you go into the story, how the battles took place, miracle. Getting the temple, miracle. So if you were choosing the symbol for the holiday, what would you choose? Now, had God not poofed the 8 nights, what would have happened? Nothing. They would have waited a couple days and got new oil. It was cool. And I love when God poofs miracles, but what would have happened if he didn't poof that miracle? If God didn't poof the miracle in the war, what would have happened? We would have died. So if you're choosing to pick a symbol for the holiday, why do you go with the lights? Why do we all know about the light story, but we don't really know about the war story? What happened? So let's talk about it. I hope we can think about it when we light candles this year. Fire represents something. Everything represents something. But if there's one thing that we have in this world that represents the other world, the spiritual world, it's fire. Fire is a physical property that represents the closest to the spiritual world. If you even look at fire, you can see, right? Fire can't even exist in the physical world unless it gets held down by a wick. Just look at fire, you'll see it's like reaching back up. When someone passes away, what do you do to commemorate them? You light a candle. When Shabbat comes in, this most spiritual day of the week, you light a candle. A holiday, you light a candle. Candles represent the soul. It says it in Torah, Ki ner Hashem nishmas Adam. The candle of God is the soul of man. Fire is the physical property that represents the spiritual world, the soul. When you look at the story of the Maccabees, how did they win? So what Hanukkah teaches us is that don't think for 1 second they won because they were stronger. They weren't. Don't think for 1 second they won because they were smarter. They weren't. They won because of one reason. Because of their soul. Because the whole world was collapsing. And these priests got up and said, I don't know how we're going to beat the Greeks, but we're not going to take this anymore. I don't know how we can fight. I don't know how we can win, but we should. You see, a long time ago, a bunch of people stood up and said, not can I, should I? And when you look around the world and you see something has to get done that you should do, you can't rely on your head, even your hands, but you have something much more powerful. It's called your soul. And your soul is a piece of God. Me and you are given inside us. Our eyes are open because what's powering us is literally a piece of the divine called our soul, which means that we have power that we don't even know about. It means that we have a source inside us that has brilliance and strength and kindness and patience and ingenuity in ways that we have no idea. And only when we go up against challenges that we should go up against can that come out. The Maccabees won because they fought the fight they're supposed to fight. And when they went to fight the Greeks, it gave the opportunity for the fire that is within them, the soul that is within them, to come out. They tapped into a source deeper. And because they went and did what was right, they were able to win. Because that's our lives. Greatness is not something that we think we can get because we've never gotten it before. Greatness is when we take on challenges that we should take on, knowing that we have something inside us that is even greater than we know of. And if you look through our history, you'll see generation after generation, people have built countries and communities and institutions and organizations and families, and you ask them, how did you know how to do it? They will tell you, we don't know. But it had to get built. This had to get done. This had to get started. Someone had to raise those kids. So I jumped in and did it, and then I found a power source. I found something that I didn't know I had before. Ask people that have done great things. It wasn't because of their heads or their hands, it's because of their soul. Hanukkah comes and God says, I made you a miracle with light. It wasn't because I was bored. Because I want you to always remember that they won because of the light that's inside them. You know why it lasted for 8 days? Because 8 is the number that is beyond the physical world. 8 is the number of miracles. Because when you tap into your soul, when you look at the world from what should I do, when we walk around and realize that we have a source inside us that's even more powerful than we think, then we can bring miracles. This year, when we light those candles, don't think for 1 second that Hanukkah is a holiday that happened a long time ago. Hanukkah goes on every day of our lives. Because me and you are modern day Maccabees. We got our own fights. We got our own battles. We got our own challenges. And when we look out to our challenges, sometimes we go, I don't know how. We don't gotta know how. It's not about whether we can. It's about whether we should. But when we go after our challenges and we do what's right, and we live great lives, because we know that deep down us we've got a piece of God inside us, then we're living with the light. Then we're taking on the Greeks in the same way the Maccabees did. You see, Hanukkah is not just about lighting candles. It's about being candles. And may this year when we light that candle, may it not only light up that wick, may it light up our own soul. May we have the strength to do what we need to do, to bring more light to our lives and to the lives of all those around us. Happy Hanukkah.